Hey guys, what's up? My name is Josh. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to show you a quick tutorial on how to paint track. Now, a lot of people when they put track down on the layout will just leave it as is, which is fine. However, you'll notice that pretty much all rails are going to be a nickel silver or a brass or some sort of metal. So, in my opinion, even though this is code 83 and the ties are brown, it's going to look a lot better if you just paint it, and then even just a little bit of weathering will really make your track look good and stand out. So it's a little bit of extra work and it's going to take a little bit extra time, but in my opinion, it's definitely worth it. And these techniques, which I'm about to show you, will work on HO scale like we have here, or O scale, N scale, S scale, whatever scale you model, it's going to be the same basic technique. So all you're going to need is a couple paint brushes. You're going to need some weathering powders. I use AIM weathering powders. I'm going to be using a black, and then I'm going to use a gray and also a rust colored paint from Model Master. Now you can use whatever color you paint, that doesn't matter. It's really just more the color that you want to go for here. So I went in and got the track. It's laid down. It's much easier to do this after the track is down. And we'll go and apply gray to the paint. It may seem like an odd color, but just wait to the end of the video, and I'll show you what we're doing here and what we're going for. And again, just the ties here. We don't want to paint the rails or even the plates. And that's okay if you're a little sloppy, because we're going to go over the tie plates and the rail itself with a rust color, and then of course the ground is going to be covered with ballast. But one thing I would recommend is making sure that you get the sides of the ties covered well, in case any ballast doesn't quite go all the way up to the top. Alright, so you're going to go ahead and see here that we actually got the gray on the ties here. And the next thing we're going to do is apply brown. What I'm using here is again Model Master paint, and this is Model Master Rust. The number is 1785, although any brown will really do. I would encourage you to go ahead and look at the pictures of the rail that you're trying to model, and then getting a paint color that'll, dull down to that, and you'll see what I'm talking about here once we apply a little bit of weathering powders. But what I'm going to do here is just mainly focus on painting the rail, but I also want to get the tie plates. And those are the little metal plates which go into the cross ties, and then they also hold on to the rail. So those are going to be made out of metal as well, and we want those to be a different color. Alright, so with the rails painted and the ties painted as well, we're going to go ahead and let this dry for a little while, and we're going to come back and do a little bit of weathering, and it's going to really make this even out and look really good. Alright guys, so we're back. It's been a couple hours. Everything is dried for the most part, and so we're going to go ahead and go back, like I mentioned earlier, with a little bit of AIM weathering powder. This is grimy black, and we're just going to give it a nice light coat. And one thing that I would recommend is that whenever you dip a brush in there, it's going to come off really heavy, so I would recommend just dabbing that off just a little bit, and before you start applying it, so it doesn't go on too heavy. Alright, so what I'm doing here is just taking an old t-shirt, which was cut up into rags, but any old rag will work, and just dampening it just a little bit, and then just removing some of the black powder off. And what this is doing is just leaving the black in the cracks, and it's also leaving a little bit behind, but really giving it a nice effect and finished look. Alright, so if you really want to add that extra detail to your track, one thing you can do is take a little bit of black paint and just paint a couple ties here and there. It'll give it the effect of a replace tie, and it'll look really neat. You can see I'm just using a little bit of a thin black here. And just for fun, if you want to make a rotted tie or something like that, take an X-Acto knife and carve out just a little bit of this tie to make it look like it's rotted out. Alright guys, so a quick clear coat of Krylon matte finish is gonna just seal everything in. This is item number 1311 if you're wondering. So I'm just gonna give it a quick once over. And this is gonna seal in all of those weathering powders that we applied earlier. The last step to this is gonna be to go ahead and clean off the tops of the rails. Again, I'm just gonna use the Woodland Scenics track cleaner, and once that's done, I'm gonna apply a little bit of ballast, and then we'll go and take a look at the final results. Alright y'all, well that just about wraps up this video. Here's a look at the finished track. You can see I cleaned off the tops of the rails. Also in the middle of the screen there, you can see one of the rotted ties, which is brown, and then closer to the left-hand side, you can see one of the newer replaced black ties. And then one last thing, if you're working around switches, just be careful not to get the paint into the switch points or electrical contacts. So that being said, thanks for watching guys. I appreciate your time. In the next part of the series, we'll take a look at how to ballast and apply some basic ground cover. We'll see you next time. Bye.